Okay. All right. So this is the official kickoff for the Adelaide Hug event in June 2021. I'd like to welcome Pete Nichols, who is the founder and director of HubDo. He's certified by the Association of Proposal Management Professionals, the APMP, the Professional Pricing Society, PPS, and is a certified HubSpot trainer. Pete has over 23 years of experience in business development, marketing, sales, and services management across the Asia Pacific, Europe, and US regions, and is a business mentor for actually the Queensland government here in Australia. Pete recently moved with his wife to Copenhagen, as he has mentioned just previously, so that he can play with trucks in the sandpit with his little grandson, Benjamin. All very exciting. And I've got to say, we're really, really thrilled to have you here. And thanks for joining us, Pete. And we're looking forward to hearing more about how we can create those frictionless sales experiences by adopting perhaps something like PandaDoc or perhaps something else.
Mm-hmm. That sounds great. Thank you, Rubina, and welcome for those who have joined. It's we're kind of a year into living on Zoom, so it's always quite a challenge to then face sitting in front of a screen again. So we want to make this as interactive as possible rather than kind of sitting back and just smashing Netflix. And I kind of live in this space, this proposal and frictionless sales document space. And so I've put some slides together, but I mostly want to focus on a live demonstration as well, so we can really open it up. So for the chat window that's there, perhaps if you could let me know, do you currently use a proposal tool of any sort? So PandaDoc or Quilla or DocuSign or HubSpot quotes or anything like that. So Renee's saying, no, not currently using. And Rubina, yep, on PandaDoc, Chloe on PandaDoc. Question for Renee then, if I can. Renee, do you send out sales documents already as part of what you do in the sales process? Anything that you send out as quotes or anything that needs to be signed in order to close a deal? Anything you use today? Would it be a Word doc, an email, a phone call? Every business is quite different. The bid team send out documents. Cool. So Word and email. Thank you for that. So that is not uncommon, and gives me a good context as to talk through where I generally am taking businesses that do that today, use Word and email, because they want to change. They realize that they need to, and are interested in what are the options. If you've got HubSpot in particular, what are the options? There's so many choices. So let's kind of demystify that today. I'm going to share my screen for a little bit to share some slides, just to talk that through. So get used to using this bevy. Okay, I'll just check. Rubina, is that coming up now, that frictionless experience title slide?
Perfect.
Great. Okay, so let's jump on in. I'm going to go through these fairly quickly to set the scene. We're setting the scene as who benefits from a session today, and why would you listen to me anyway? Who's Pete Nichols and what would he know? Where's the promise? Where's the proof of what people are already doing? I have 3 foundational principles because I see some rookie errors come up pretty regularly. So I'm going to cover those, and then we'll jump into using the software live. That's where the action happens. So who will benefit? This is a photo of Sarah Goodall, a good friend of mine. She runs a social media education business out of the UK. Has been using the PandaDoc tools for quite some time now with HubSpot. It would be close to 3 years. So this is really for every business owner and sales professional who wants to quickly recreate and send professional sales documents in HubSpot CRM. I say quickly and professional because those are 2 of the main reasons that people end up talking to me about tools, because they want to save time or they want to look the part. You heard the introduction from Rubina. One of the things I do, which I really enjoy, is every week I host an episode of the Proposal Works podcast, and that's where I'm interviewing other people who just do proposals for a living. And I also like getting into pricing debates. So as soon as I find out that somebody is quoting an hourly rate for what they do, it's like, oh wow, I'd love to debate that with you, because in the professional pricing society, is like, if you're quoting an hourly rate, it's like, okay, welcome to the world. All about selling value. And as a HubSpot certified trainer, I like tying this all back into HubSpot. Friction. Let's talk about friction in the process of sales. Here's what I often find when I'm looking at what people are doing today. Say, show me what you do if you're going to put a proposal together and send it. So first it's, well, find a suitable old proposal to edit. Let's use one from a month ago that was really good. It's fairly similar. I'll bring that up and edit that, but make sure we strip out the old client data. Don't want to accidentally leave the wrong names in there. Find other documents where we can copy and paste things in to make it relevant for this client. Hope that what we're pasting in, give that a tweak, read it all, tweak it all up to the customer, put some graphics in, format it so it looks the part. By now it's probably, I don't know, 10 o'clock at night to try and get the proposal together. You download it as a PDF file and then remember to attach it to the email. Like, how often do you get an email saying, please see the attached PDF? You say, what PDF? I had that happen just when I was talking to different firms of accountants to figure out who could help me understand Danish tax. And they said, here's our proposal. And I said, where is it? And they said, oh, sorry, I forgot to attach it to the email. It was a, you still see that really commonly. And then when you've decided, okay, this is the final version, where am I going to store that so that we can find it again? Which was the one that went to the client and they signed it off. And then when we send it to the client, look at it, and we hope they haven't just sent it over to the competition and others who weren't meant to see it. So these are all pretty common forms of friction. To me, friction is loss that you never get back. If you spend 20 hours a month doing proposals, that's time that's gone. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. So that accountancy company that forgot to send me the PDF file, I didn't end up going with them. I just figured that first impression, that was part of the impression they created with me. And I don't want them looking after my finances if that's what they do. Chasing. Can we get this deal signed off? Where is it? Who has it? Or procrastination. This is where I know a proposal should go out today, but I have to get the energy to do it because of all the friction. And then the bump and grind of just the sales process, update HubSpot, move, create a folder for a client, all the things you need to do. So let's paint a different picture. This is the promise that I like to work towards of how I prefer things to operate. So you wake up Thursday, today's Thursday, it's now 8 a.m. for me here, Thursday afternoon for you. Sipping your coffee, you open your email, you feel a smile spread across your face because the 7-page proposal that you sent yesterday took you 30 minutes to prepare. It's already signed, it's already paid, and your client said that yours is the only proposal that shows that you understand what they want, that offers value, and gives them confidence to go ahead. So I don't know about you, but I love the sound of that, and I'm experiencing that because I actually sent 2 proposals out yesterday, and I can see they are actually signed off. There was one for Ireland and one for Israel that went out yesterday, and they're already done. So let's have a look at some proof of what that looks like. The PandaDoc proposal grid I built 3 years ago. This has hundreds of consultants and their clients on it. It's powered by PandaDoc software, it's supported by Hubdo as well as PandaDoc, HubSpot. So the reason I raise that is I get to see a lot of proposals. The system's telling me that just over 34,000 documents were the last 3 months. That's a lot. What I is you don't have to be amazing at this to stand out, because most proposals are not very good. So just by implementing some of the things we're talking about today, you can be significantly better than people like the accountancy firm that didn't attach the PDF. Here's some friends and customers I snapped some words of talking to them just within the last few months of what they're getting out of the system that they're using. This spot. So Jackie Beasy at Atomic in Texas, we put proposals together faster, saving 10 to 15 hours a month, potentially 2 days of somebody's time. Actually ended up getting clients from it because they saw how efficiently we put everything together. So that was pretty cool. Darren up in Brisbane at Evolution, the presentation of the documents is excellent. It makes you look very, very professional. Aaron at Captevrix over in Florida said to me, this is on a call we had, we're dealing in technology. So this is the professionalism that is expected of us, the ease then of collecting the signature and collecting the funds if you need to. It's just easy and it looks the part. And Ron, who's in the Netherlands at Conversion Crew, the biggest advantage is that you can create these kind of documents really quickly. It saves Ron 5 to 10 hours a month. So these are pretty typical examples of the folks that I help. And Brad over in New Zealand, I was talking to recently. Brad doesn't do a lot of proposals. He does even 3 proposals a month. The system pays for itself. So there's nothing to buy here today. I'm just letting you know these that folks are having. And if you're not having the same experience, then it may not be a difficult problem to solve. So let's talk about rookie errors of 3 foundational principles. I've called them swords, 100% equals 0%, and boiled ham. So swords is a bit like the situation I described with the accountant sending me the email without the PDF. I did get much better proposals from other accountancy firms, and they were who I selected with. So don't bring a sword to a gun. If you are still sending PDFs, it's like 2008 called and they want their PDF back. That technology is quite old now. So if you're sending a PDF and you're expected to be viewed by the customer as professional and up to date, that is not going to do it. It's about choosing the right tool. So what sort of swords could you choose? If you're choosing your weapon and it's not going to be Microsoft Word and a PDF file, here's what we're going to touch on today. So HubSpot has the quotes function built in. There's also a custom quotes tool, which I'll mention, which is currently in beta. Then I view the e-signature tools as a different category, tools specifically designed to get documents signed, not just quotes, but any kinds of documents and agreements. Could be 1 page, could be 20 pages, typically legal documents, that sort of thing. So DocuSign is a biggie. I think everybody's heard of that. There's a couple of others that we'll explore. And then next level is the proposal tools. That's where PandaDoc fits in. Quilla, I like those guys too. Quilla's based out of Sydney. Proposify. These are the most common ones that you hear about as proposal tools with HubSpot. So a quick look at HubSpot Quotes. It's a really simple tool. If you have a deal in HubSpot, you just click through to create a quote. It's on the banner on the right-hand side of the deal. It's very easy. It makes it very seamless to just add the products from a deal onto a price table. It can handle one-off and recurring items, which is nice. It gives you an e-signature function in Sales Pro and Enterprise Pro, Sales Enterprise for HubSpot. You can collect payment. It's through Stripe that's integrated, and you can customize it a little bit. You use snippets, which if you're a HubSpot user, you can use snippets in emails and so forth. So snippets are a way to drop in common terms or comments to customize it a little bit. The HubSpot Custom Quotes is out there currently as a beta. I've put the link on here as well so people can go and take a look at that. It's currently closed, that beta. We don't have a release date for it. There was more discussion on that just overnight in the HubSpot partner community. It basically allows you to customize the template. It doesn't turn it into a full proposal tool, but it does allow you to change the layout compared to those 3 fixed layouts that you had before. So a little more drag and drop of components to customize it beyond those fixed formats. I might just pause there actually, just see, are there any Any questions about that tool? Let me see if I can drop out of presentation mode here. Oh, the screen's not wanting to revert back. Rubina or anyone else? I can't see the chat window.
That's okay. I'm monitoring that for you, Pete. And at this stage, no, all good. I think let's get into the prettier options.
Okay. My Mac's gone into a little spinning wheel for a second, so hopefully it's going to come back to me. Oh, here we go. Okay, is that still working, Rubina? You can see that custom quote slide.
All good.
Good, great, thank you. So let's have a look at the next rookie error. 100% equals 0%. So I could tell you in Queensland, there's a company that does caravans and RVs and so forth. It should have taken them 2 weeks to put the system in and start using it. I think they're at about 4. There's an IT company in Sydney that for the last 18 months have been trying to figure out what their proposals should look like. And there's a building company based out of Sydney as well that is now 2 years into the journey. So the reason I raise that is that I see people who grab the tools and run with it and make good, sharp decisions and get it deployed, and then it really pays back. But 0% delivery of putting the tools in place doesn't guarantee that you get any sort of result. Those companies are paying subscriptions on software and not getting any value out of it. You do have to take the tool, figure out how to make it work. And I'd say put a 4-week timeline on it. You should be sending proposals out, no matter what they look like, within those first few weeks. Because if you don't, I find that it just becomes a boat anchor. So, and that I think applies to any business. Just because you've delivered something doesn't necessarily mean the customer got what they wanted. It's about the day. So what avoid a problem of getting stalled is at least make sure that the software that you've chosen to use integrates. So if you're not using the built-in HubSpot quotes tool and you're adding on e-signing, on the left-hand side here, I've listed a bunch like Adobe Sign, DocSketch, OneSpan, Sign Now, Sign Easy. There's a lot of e-signing tools that don't integrate with HubSpot. I've recently added DocuSign to this chart until very recently. So it's there now. I think a lot of folks have heard of DocuSign, and a lot of accountants and so forth use it as a popular choice. So it's widely known, but the integration with HubSpot is only supports the system properties that are in HubSpot today. The first name, last name, company, all the things that are built into HubSpot. If you create custom properties, DocuSign doesn't support them yet. I'm sure it will in time. It's just early days. And then HelloSign has been there as an integration for some time. That's actually the signature platform that when you're using HubSpot's built-in quotes, it's HelloSign. But that's limited as to how much functionality you get from that, or you start paying your $13 US and up per month to use it. Get Acceptors in there as well, but I rarely find anybody who uses it. It's typically HelloSign or now more recently DocuSign. That is it. Now, boiled ham is the next rookie error. I mentioned that I see a lot of proposals. And because I'm part of the Proposal Management Association professionals, I recognize when I look at a proposal that if a professional had written it, it would generally be quite different to the way that the company's written it. What proposals often get wrong is that they talk a lot about what they do. They talk about the deliverables of what they do. But as you've heard, 100% deliverability doesn't necessarily mean any result, because the person who's signing off the budget wants to see, I'm not concerned so much with deliverables. I want to know whether those deliverables are outcomes that I'm looking for. So that requires really tuning in to the customer and not using a template that is just all boilerplate. That's where I'm coming from with boiled ham. Boilerplate proposals where you're only changing a few of the small details, customers can smell that a mile away. This has not been written for me. It might say, Dear Pete, and company name within the text, but it's not written for me. You can just tell that it's boilerplate. So proposal tools allow you to write something that shows you will, and you've really taken on board the outcomes that they want and the results that they want, and then you're showing the proof of being able to deliver on that. And many proposals fail at that. So if you have a proposal that does really show that you've tuned in, it stands out as a far stronger proposition and much more likely to be signed off for customers' budget. So how do you do that? This is an approach that several of the proposal tools will do, because they generally have a content library. And I find a rookie error is that quite often the content library is not being used in this software, and yet it's a critical piece. It's how you avoid sending a boilerplate proposal which has tons of information about what you do. Only send the information that that particular customer really cares about and nothing else. So the approach that I use, I work through a process with businesses to not just identify their differentiators. I match their differentiators to what a specific customer wants, and that becomes a discriminator. Professional proposal writers talk about discriminators. So we use a little matrix called a discriminatrix. A couple of examples are, that I mentioned earlier. If somebody was coming to me for proposal software, it's because they probably want to save time, or they want to look more professional, or they want to have a better process of getting things signed off. They want to respond faster when the customer says, hey, I'm ready, send me that proposal. They want to streamline the sales process. They want to embed video. There's a bunch of things that I know they might be interested in, but they won't care about all of them. They'll only care about one or two or three. So those are the customer's hot buttons. And the idea is that the content library has a little pack of information that relates to that hot button, the benefit of that hot button, the feature of what you do that delivers on that, and then some proof, because nobody believes companies anymore. So some verifiable proof all together. Instead of a case study at the end, that can still be valid, but you're leaving the customer to do the work of going and reading the case study and figuring out whether it relates to them. So these little hot button packs can be dropped into the proposal, and that's live with that shortly when we jump into the software. So that's why I call these customer-focused proposal tools. Whether it's PandaDoc, whether it's Quilla, whether it's Proposify, they each take a slightly different approach, but they all have a content library. So they all have the ability to drop in customer-relevant information that's not boilerplate. It's showing that you've listened because you're just talking about what the customer cared about. And if I compare these platforms briefly, so PandaDoc, that's the most common one that is most popular connected with HubSpot. That handles pretty much any documents and agreements, and it works as a document tool. Quilla out of Sydney is a pretty cool tool. It works as a scrolling web page. So it tends to be used by companies that are more gravitate towards wanting that kind of scrolling experience as opposed to a signed off documents process. And then Proposify, I see Proposify less and less, very much specific to proposals. It has sections that relate to a proposal. So it's been around for a while, and it's probably, I think, a bit due for an update of the interface. So let's jump into the demonstration. We've set the scene, what we're trying to achieve. I'm going to come back to join you guys here, if I can stop sharing. Cool. Okay, so I haven't been able to see the chat, but yeah, there's no, oh, so Mark is on board. Hello, Mark. Thanks for joining us. So as we go into a demonstration, I'm going to use the HubSpot platform and PandaDoc to do this live. And we really want to open it up as to the sorts of things that you are sending out. And if it's similar to what I do, yeah, we can open it up for some Q&A. Any initial questions before I jump into start using the software? What would be the most valuable thing for you to see today from this session to feel that you've gotten some value by sitting and listening to Pete and joining the hug this Thursday. So Mark, Renee, Chloe, Rabina, anything that would help you to see? What do you want to see most?
For me, I particularly, yes, save time and look professional. Good one, Mark. That's some pretty key items there that PandaDoc certainly does help us. We are, I won't lie, we love PandaDoc here. I love PandaDoc. Personally, it saves me a ton of time. Because once we've kind of developed, say, like the website development proposal, for example, there are so many components within that can be reused for other proposals. So once you've kind of started to build that content library with your product services, it's a really easy process to kind of drag and drop in. And I don't want to steal Pete's thunder, so I'll leave a little bit for now. But in terms of the HubSpot integration, PandaDoc really have pulled up their socks in the last 12 months and brought out some really exciting features and integrations. And, Renee, and Mark, definitely let your minds run wild with the opportunities that workflows also present as a result of, where PandaDoc is up to as well. So it's just, there's a lot within it, even just from, while saving time with the actual tool is one thing, once you then combine it with the integration, there's so much more that really can be done to maximize it.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that, Rabina, because I know you guys have been using PandaDoc with HubSpot for quite some time. And you're right, PandaDoc lifted their game because they brought out a whole new editor. It started 2 years ago, it went mainstream a year ago, now it's everywhere, which is editor version 2. And I like that is a nice seamless sync between what's going on and pulling the data through from HubSpot. Mark has mentioned better proposals on there of any experience. You just don't come across it that often in the HubSpot environment. It's I find around kind of 65, 70% PandaDoc. Then Quilla is probably a good 15, 20, 25% on top of that. So the rest, so Proposify, better proposals and so forth, are kind of in that rounding error space. I think because better proposals and Proposify are geared specifically at proposals, they are less useful across the business for all the other things you might use it for. We use PandaDoc for employment contracts and for NDA agreements and even processes of rolling out software upgrades. We use it as a general purpose tool. I use PandaDoc for my podcast that I host every week. I send out a PandaDoc which explains how to have a good experience on my show, and it collects all the information from the speaker and it puts their bio and everything into my HubSpot to automate my podcast process. So I think that's the limitation of a proposal tool, is that you pretty much just use it for proposals, whereas these other ones like PandaDoc and Quilla are a general purpose document tool that do proposals really well and everything else. So let's have a look at PandaDoc as one example. I'm not saying it's definitely the right choice for everybody. It's just very popular, I think, because of its flexibility. If we go back into sharing screen mode now, I think when I choose share screen, it's going to go weird for a second as I then switch across to my CRM. So I'll use Appledoo Consulting. This is my own HubSpot. I'll use Appledoo Consulting as a fictitious company to create some documents for. And we have my PandaDoc. So this is my production version. Let's create something real. I'm on Appledoo Consulting, and I have some deals in here. So let's create a new deal for the Adelaide Hug. Get my fingers working. Oh, U is a bit sticky, right? So I'll leave it in a pipeline. I'll just leave everything else kind of as a default. At this first stage, I won't put the line items on the deal. I'm just going to, we'll put Johnny Appleseed in there as the contact. And we'll create that as a deal. So I don't have any line items on this deal. I'm just going to go and create a document as a first example. So I should just point out, if you haven't seen this before, so once you add in these products on the right-hand panel of HubSpot, you can move it about, but you'll have a section like this PandaDoc section, and down further you can see I have an embedded Quilla section. When you integrate them, that's generally where they show up. So on PandaDoc, we'll say create a document, and then I get the choice of a proposal. So I'm going to start a proposal works. This is my most common used template for people who are adding PandaDoc to their system. We'll put in Johnny Appleseed and me. So this template knows that there's two roles involved in this document. There's one person who's going to be signing, one person who is sending, and those drop-down lists that appear, it's only limiting it to those names because those are the people associated with the deal. Johnny Appleseed is attached to the deal, so I don't have to go searching for who that is. That automatically adds Johnny in. And anybody else attached to the deal, they would be added in here as CC. So if you didn't want that, you could switch them off. We don't need to CC Johnny because he's a signer. And then we'll go into start editing. So now it's going to take that template, customize the variables that are in the template using HubSpot data. And here we are. Let's have a look at what we've got. We have a cover page. Now you can see this little yellow line around anything that has been customized as a variable. So Appledoo Consulting came across from the company that was attached to the deal. The name of the deal, Appledoo Consulting Adelaide Hug, has come through as another variable that I wanted to use. I have a placeholder here where I can upload a logo for the customer. So I want to start showing that I'm very comfortable. So, but I'm just going to drop a general there logo. We want to feature the customer more than ourselves in this proposal. So image coming up and it'll display there. There we go. So I can just resize customer's logo on the cover page. You can see it's prepared for Johnny Appleseed, prepared by Pete Nichols. So all of the personalization tokens have come across from HubSpot. You can see on the right-hand side, there's a little HubSpot button that's showing the information of PandaDoc back into HubSpot. So I can refresh the information from the deal. I can bring that across. I could unlink this document from a deal. I don't want to do that. And I can import the CRM again if I wanted to do that. But by default, it would happen at the start anyway. Then I have this intro page to the proposal. Let me put a logo up there again on the header. So I have this pre-configured header there ready to go. Now, current situation and priorities, we'd always recommend that you don't boilerplate this intro page. Current situation is so different for every customer, and this is how the proposal should. So the current situation and then the client's priorities are all there. So would begin to write a very personal message to start with. This is where you spend most of the time in the proposal. Is thanks for meeting today. You explained whatever this situation might be, and then really importantly, that we'll add some block text in here as to what your priorities are. We could put them in as save time, look pro, that kind of thing of what you said was. Now, this is where I like to use the proposal library. So in my proposal library, I can add items in. As I move around on PandaDoc, you can see that these blue lines appear. This is where I can insert information. If I click on the plus, then I can insert at that spot. So I'll go to the content library. And in the content library, I want to go into my discriminatrix area. And this customer has said save time is one. So let's do that. And I can personalize that with any of the contacts that are in there. This is what it's dropping into the proposal for me now. So we discussed that it's taking you a certain amount of time to prepare the documents. So in this in these tokens, it kind of forces me to fill it out. You've told me that you're spending 25 hours per month to prepare and send documents. So I'm personalizing this little nugget of something the customer cares about, a solution that with a set of base templates, we typically see savings of 5 to 20 hours per person per month. And then below that are quotes from people that are our clients that have had that same experience. So this is this little value pack that I can drop in from the content library. Let's do that again. I will add in another content library item. Let's say, keep within here. We'll go with look professional. And look more professional. So here we've got, you only get one opportunity to make a first impression. Your branded template and design themes ensure documents have a consistent, delivered in formats that present well on any device. And then a bunch of comments from clients that relate specifically to that. And if I know that that customer's two main hot buttons are save time and look more professional, that's as much as I'm going to do at the start of the proposal to really personalize that. Rubina, what's your thoughts just from what you've seen there? Is that anything like what you're currently doing from your content library today?
Yeah, look, that's not too dissimilar from what we are currently doing with our content library. I find that for each client who comes to us, they have slightly different needs, slightly different requirements. They have slightly, there are different motivations. Certainly, in the case of websites and things like that, some of them are about, it's time for a new website because we've done a new brand. So the reasons as to why what we're going to do is going to be very different to someone who comes to us and says, I have no website, I have no online presence. Okay. So the motivations are very different. And as you say, we spend the most time on that introductory page where it's, hi, thanks for the opportunity to present this proposal to you. Here's our recommendations on what we should be doing to help address, the situation at hand. And then following on from that, we then have the content library blocks that are relevant. So if it's a web development project, it'll be web development stages. If it's a HubSpot implementation project, then it will be what's involved with a Sales Pro implementation setup, for example. So that's kind of how it then flows from there. The other parts that we typically will always have as part of it, if we decide to go, if we use one of the templates, the terms and conditions are always the same. The only area that again gets a little bit of attention is just if there's specifics on the payment or specifics around the totals and things like that in the terms and conditions, we just update for fields and go from there. But yeah, I think the big thing I've found with it personally is that once the content library is populated, it is very quick to turn around the proposal. You can really do it, depending on how well you know the client and how many conversations you've had. And if you've already got that first part of the letter in your head, it can all be done within half an hour easily. If you're still trying to figure out what that first page looks like, it might take you a little bit longer. But in terms of the content blocks that come out of the library, it's just as simple as you've shown, drag and drop. That's it.
Yeah. Yep. No, that's great. And you're, I think, an example, Rubina, of using it in the right way, because you've got those components in your content library. Start with a base template like we've done here, and then add in what's relevant. And the sections that I have here steer you through writing a good proposal. So value-based outcomes. If we want to sell value, then we need a place where we're translating that for the customer of what does it mean for them to save 20 hours of time per month, that kind of thing. So we could add that in from the content library as well, of bringing in, let's say, a value statement. If I bring in, say, time value, then save an estimated so many hours per month, which you indicate is worth around. These variables, these are all things that PandaDoc will make sure you fill out before it gets sent. So if we wanted to save, client has indicated they could probably save 20 hours per month, which is worth around, well, so 220. If they let's say we said, well, what's an hour worth to you? So could be 150 hour. So over the course of a month, let's do that. So 150 times 200.
The 20.
Yeah, 200. What am I getting that for? 150 times 20. Yeah, so 3,000. $3,000. Forcing me to kind of fill out my value statement. So having value statements in well can help you each of the pieces, because the value is vital to have in the proposal. Then this is over a month. However we want to phrase that. And well, what's that? 24,000, 36,000 a year. Done. So you've got this ROI beginning to establish based on the hot buttons. We're not talking about other things that the software can do, because the client hasn't said that that's important to them. They have said they want to save time. So we've really zeroed in on establishing value around saving time. We could also do some value statements around looking more professional. Then we've got sections we can populate out. We've got the kind of standard team responsibilities, but this is where it's been personalized through, again, from HubSpot, and then through to the pricing. So the pricing tables, this is where tools like Word and so forth tend to really fall down, because they just don't have anything like that. You normally have to go to Excel, create something there, bring that across into Word. Whereas here, this is a customizable pricing table. So when this goes out to the customer, you can see we've populated it with tier 1 onboarding, tier 2 onboarding, jumpstart implementation. This is a multi-choice section. So the customer can choose tier 1 or 2 or 3 or no services. And based on what they choose, the total is going to change. So I can pre-select that. The proposal that I sent out yesterday to Israel, I pre-selected a tier 2 onboarding, which I thought was right for them. But they have the ability to change that if they think that that's not appropriate. And the proposal will change its value as well. And if Zapier automation is in there, that's a little tick box item. So now we have a $1,200 services page. Now a PDF file can't do this. If you send it over to the client really has no ability to control it. Then when we go in here, what software do they want? So we're providing, say, a standard license annual. No, actually they don't want to do annual. They want to go monthly, and they want, say, 2 seats per month. So again, it's all adding up. We've got 2 licenses, $118. We've got some more information we need to collect, upgrading from their existing software, confidentiality, T's and C's, and then acceptance. And notice here, this acceptance, we've got total services 1,200, total software annual is 0, total software monthly is 118. That's pulling tokens from within the document of what those price tables are worth through to a grand total. And the grand total of this document I can see is $1,318 so far. The document value, PandaDoc knows that this particular one is in US dollars, and we're not making it a customer amount. We're allowing the pricing tables to put that together. Sometimes you want pricing tables as examples that don't actually add up to the total, but here we want the services in there. We want the annual or the monthly software in there to get to a total value. And when this goes off to the customer, there's a place for them to sign and put in their billing email address. It can collect the card details. So we've got the choice of either just collecting the card details and then bill them later, or we can take payment right now. We can take the full amount or take 50% of the amount. That's all there as the customer to respond to when they see it. So let's, any questions on that before we have a look at the customer view,
Yes,
what
Pete.
that looks like?
Yes,
Yeah.
Pete. There is a question that's come through here from Renee, and it's more around the actual creation of the template itself. So the question goes from Renee. I have a question around the creation and control of templates, branding, layouts, etc. How does this work? Is this easy to do ourselves, or do we need to work with a partner to get it all set up?
Yeah, it's a really good question. You can do all of this yourself. If it's a sort of business that can take a tool like Microsoft PowerPoint or other tools like that and put something together that really looks the part, then absolutely do that all in-house. If you already have some designs that are in Microsoft Word docx format, you can import docx into PandaDoc, and that gives you a running start. You also have theme controls. So within PandaDoc, you can set a theme of what we default font to be. You can add in a custom Google font if it's a specific variant. What do we want our base colors to be? How do we want the price tables to look? Horizontal, vertical lines, stylized, all be saved in the theme. And that means every document that you create is always going to have that same consistent font and so forth. No matter how you've dragged and dropped things on the page, it'll still have that same consistent look and feel. So I'm not sure, Renee, have I answered your question there? I do help a lot of people get started, but depending on the skills in-house, yeah, if you're comfortable with tools like PowerPoint and so forth, then you do like a 1 hour training and you pretty much learn the bulk of what you need to know about how to do the layouts. So yeah, once your templates are done, and if you've created a document too, Renee, you create one for one customer and realize, hey, I put a lot of effort into this. You can then save that document as a template and then put tokens in there instead of the actual company names. And then you could use it like the template you've seen me just produce then.
So that's the other thing too, Renee. It also depends on how familiar you are with HubSpot and all of the properties that you can customize that come out of there. So if you've got someone internal who is an absolute HubSpot gun, then certainly you can draw on their skills and ability to help you to make sure that the fields you're creating, or the tokens rather, I should say, that you're creating in PandaDoc match the field names or the field property names in HubSpot, because then it'll pull the data straight out from HubSpot and into the proposal, saving your team even just that little bit more time. We're currently working with a client at the moment on some of their contracts, and so they are going to be pulling data straight out from HubSpot to save the girls' time when they are trying to pull out these contracts instead of having to write them all manually and kind of do all that sort of thing. So I think it's something that you definitely, I would say, you can work on yourselves in the short term, absolutely. But yeah, if there's any kind of, you run into some, challenges and whatnot, then certainly partners are there to help you to get through it, but also PandaDoc support if need be as well.
Yeah, I find it's worth, if you're not sure, maybe spend a little bit on services to get one template up and running. Because of that 100% equals 0% I mentioned before, I've seen companies get stuck for months where they know they've got this tool and it's burning them up that they're paying for it and they just can't seem to start using it. So if you start using it for the documents that you're sending out and then get comfortable with it, and then you can move other things across to use that tool as well. Don't try to boil the ocean first up. Just get it adding some value to get started, and that's the best way to learn. Let's send I've created with you so we can see what that looks like when sent. Back to share and back to the document. Okay, so we want to send this document choice of sending it via email, which is what I would normally do. If I send it via email, then I just get a little confirmation, is this name of the document correct? By default, it's the name of the HubSpot deal. And I'll save and continue that. And then I get a little pop-up message here where I can write a custom message, or I can use some saved messages. Just pick one for, say, PandaDoc. There we go. Thanks for inquiring about PandaDoc for HubSpot partners, that kind of thing, and push send. Now what happens there, each recipient, and this is where the platforms vary a little bit, each recipient will get that email, will get it in one go, or there'll be a sign-off sequence where you only want it to go to person A. When they've signed, then it goes to person B. So that's your choice of how you want the workflow to work. Do you want everybody to see it, or do you want it to go through stages? Does it need to stop off for somebody to approve it before it goes? I get that with larger companies as well, or legal contracts where they want it to go to an approver who says, yep, this is fine, let it go through. That's all part of the workflow controls. Now, when it does go out, each person gets a unique link. This is where it differs from something like Quilla. With PandaDoc, if a document was going to both Rubina and I, Rubina would get a link and I get a link. And when I click my link, PandaDoc knows this is Pete. And when Rubina clicks hers, it knows this is Rubina. That saves the customer an extra step. If you use Quilla, for example, Quilla sends out one link to everybody that's the same. And then Quilla will say, okay, I now need to send you an email to prove you are who you say you are. So then you get the recipient has to go through checking their inbox and then clicking another link. I think it's a bit clunky, a bit of friction on the customer side, but I get that question a lot of, is there one link or a different link? So if I say share by link, you can see that Johnny Appleseed has a link and Pete has a link. So if I copy the Johnny Appleseed one, I could go onto LinkedIn if I'm chatting to Johnny and say, hey, Johnny, here's that proposal if you want to take a look. And I could drop that into online chat with him. Let me share a incognito window so we can see what that looks like. I'm going to paste Johnny's link in there, and PandaDoc will now think that Johnny has opened the document. And by the way, it will alert me to say Johnny Appleseed has just opened your proposal. I can tell PandaDoc to tell me every time Johnny opens it, or just when he opens it the first time. So this is Johnny's view. You can see that Johnny has a much simpler, it's just the document. And in a classic DocuSign kind of form, that, well, you know, Johnny could go through and say, oh, no, I don't think I want tier 2 onboarding. I just jumpstart implementation suits me. So that changes the price of the contract. And yeah, I'm happy with 2 seats there. That'll looks good. I can push start and it will take me through to, oh, what's your situation with PandaDoc? I'm no existing trial. What's next? Admin level, put in Pete at Hubdo as the user, and I won't worry about the other email address yet. Sign that off. This is as Johnny. And the date today, Aussie date format. And billing email address, I think, is next. Yep. So accounts. And if I wanted to put in details as well, they'd click that and Stripe would collect the card details securely. So Johnny has signed off his document. Let's go and have a look behind the scenes to what that looks like to the business that sent the proposal. We'll share, coming up to the end of our time here now.
Just to know, we've got a couple of questions. So I'll
yeah. Do you want to fire those off while I
fire those off now? Yeah. So Mark asks, is the proposal saved into sales files to follow clicks and opens as regular docs? Which I think is about what you're about to show us now.
Yeah, so actually it's a good question. Where does the document go? So I am on this Adelaide deal. Let me just refresh my screen of the, you can see there's a few alerts appearing within the timeline that the document has been viewed and so forth. And on the right-hand side, you can see the PandaDoc, the status is viewed. So at the moment, the document is in PandaDoc, but it's linked to the HubSpot deal. When it's all complete, a PDF file is of the completed document, all digitally signed so that it's legally binding, is shared amongst all of the participants. And you could file that in wherever makes sense for you. You could use a tool like Zapier to grab that PDF and go and put it in Box or wherever you've decided that you want to file those contracts. That's where a tool like Zapier is a good general purpose automation if you want to do more than what's built into the interface. And while we're looking here at the document as well, let's see what we can see. Now that it's been opened up, if we did open up this PandaDoc, so I can see on the right-hand side that Johnny Appleseed, he's viewed it one time. He only looked at it for 2 minutes, but he signed it. So you can see the activity is there. There is an audit trail, but actually on the activity, I want to show you that of the 3 minutes that Johnny was in there, he spent 10 seconds on page 1. Where did he spend most of his time? 9 seconds through on page 5, and then 21 seconds in the sign off. So normally people will look at a proposal longer than that. So you get an idea of where they're spending their time. If they haven't signed it off yet, how many times have they opened it? What are they looking at? And the audit trail shows who has done what. So once I've signed that, you can see it's wanting for me to sign it because I'm the person who has sent it and I'm one of the signatories as well. So PandaDoc will take me through the same sign-off process. But it's basically the same as what you've just seen Johnny's done.
Yeah.
What a popular thing to do is to then have Zapier detect the completion of that document and move the deal in HubSpot from proposal sent to proposal complete or proposal paid. So it takes that friction out as well and save you even more time. What other?
Renee has another follow-up question. If we can just quickly cover that one off, and then we'll close out for the afternoon or the morning in your case, Pete. Renee says, we have lots of collaborators and contributors working on and signing off on complex proposals. How would this get managed in PandaDoc? Does it manage versioning of drafts, comments, track edits, etc.?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, Renee. So there's several stages usually that happen there. First, when a document's being created by an internal team, you can highlight text within the document. And let's say Rubina and I were working on it together. I would highlight the text, and then to the right-hand side of the page, there's a place, just like in Google Docs, I can make a little note. I could tag and say, hey, Rubina, can you check the wording on % sure that this is valid for this client? So you can collaborate on draft mode. Then when it's ready to go, you can choose to have it go to who must allow it to continue before it proceeds as well. That's like an extra safety barrier. And then once it's gone to the client, you have a couple of options of version and control. You can tick the box that allows the customer to do redlining if your business allows that. So there's a process that the customer can follow to redline the contract if you want that. Also, you can click to edit the document. A document that has been sent, if you click in PandaDoc to edit that document, it'll warn you this has already been sent. It's going to go back into draft mode. So it allows you to reopen that document, make some more changes and send it again. And you'll be able to see version 1, version 2, version 3 are all kept in PandaDoc. So the editing and collaboration and version control and approval question has pretty much been thought through. The tool allows you to manage it in just a few example ways I've shared. Cool, Renee's happy with that, great. And I'm gonna leave you with one sort of final close on automations, because I'll bring this back up. I know we're gonna wrap. Okay, so we're seeing the promise. If what you saw me do in PandaDoc just then is exactly what I did 2 times yesterday afternoon before I knocked off, and both what I sent I've woken up today, and they have both been signed. The Israel one and the one in Ireland have both been signed. So I have a link here for book a chat with Pete. If anybody just wants to catch up, there's no obligation to that at all. We've just scratched the surface of what professional proposal writing and removing friction can look like. I also mentioned the discriminatrix that I use to define a set of hot buttons and how your business relates to those hot buttons. So I've created a tool at discriminatrix.com. You spell it exactly the way as you imagine. I'll put it in the chat. If you go to discriminatrix.com, it takes you to a HubSpot form. If you fill out that HubSpot form, my Zapier automatically sends you a Panda doc of a discriminatrix to build your own value proposition table. And then if you complete that, a Zapier then automatically to my HubSpot as well. So it's just another use case of completely automating the document flow between HubSpot and a tool like PandaDoc. And so yeah, discriminatrix.com is a way you can test it, and you may get some value out of defining those customer hot buttons and value statements for your proposals too.
Yeah. Well, Pete, I just want to say thank you so much for your time today. You've really given us an in-depth look at how, I guess, we can bring some efficiencies to our proposal writing, but more importantly, consistency across the board, while yet delivering that personal touch that each prospect deserves. I think it's been a great session. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you joining us today. If anyone has any questions or feedback, certainly happy for you to drop us a line. Feel free to email us, info@refuelcreative.com.au. And certainly happy to have any further chats as needed. Just want to thank Renee and Mark for joining today, and I have a feeling that the remaining attendees will be catching up on this recording later on. So on that note, I'm going to sign us all out and hope everybody has a great evening. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you very much. Thanks, Robina. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
See you soon. Cheers.
Okay.